All right, we're here looking at our cut list and cost form. And first thing I'm gonna do is put my name on here in the green box. This is one of the only places on your printed plans that's gonna have your name. And so if you leave them laying around in the shop, someone's gonna be able to identify them and see whose they are. So I'm gonna start by laying out my finish sizes because that's what I know and I don't have to do any really calculations. And I'm gonna use my plans to help guide me. So if I look at my plans here, and I'm going to zoom over so I can see my front view. And most of our sizes are going to come off of our front view. There will be a little bit off of our side view, but mostly off of our front view. Just to clarify, some of these names over here, maybe you're not going to have them. Maybe you're not going to have crown molding. Maybe you're not going to have different pieces, or maybe you want them in a different order. Okay, that's fine. You can go ahead and change these names, and that would be fine. So what we're going to look at first is face frame one style. So we do have two cabinets, style one, style two. So I'm just going to use those labelings that I have to determine which cabinet that is. So style one, those lengths are 55 and an eighth. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to type length 55.125. And all of our sizes need to be entered in decimal format with no symbols. And then my quantity, I have one on the outside and one over here. The middle one is shorter, so I don't want that right now. I'm going to just put quantity 2. And my width, I put on here 1.5 inches. So 1.5. And crown molding, I'm not going to come to that one yet. I'll come back to that. So let's look at face frame bottom rail 1. Now on this top cabinet, the top rail and bottom rail might be the same size, and you could just change their quantity. On mine, I went a little bit bigger on the top rail so that we could have that crown molding have a little bit more meat to attach onto when that gets glued and nailed. So I'm going to come down here. My bottom rail, I have a quantity of 1 bottom rail, and my length is 40 inches. I can see that one right there. And my width is 1.5 inches on the bottom. And my thickness is going to be 1 for all of mine. So maybe you want to keep going with this. Maybe you need to label something different, like this side crown molding right here. I'm going to change this to face frame 1 top rail. And I'm going to have one of those. And if I look up here, I am 2 inches wide. So it was 40 inches long. I saw that down here from my last one. And 2 inches on top. So as I'm filling out my finished sizes, my rough sizes are going to pop in, and my rough sizes is going to add 2 inches onto the length. So as I'm cutting my board, I cut to the rough sizes, and then as I joint the material, I run it through the table saw to get a rip cuts, and then I go to cross cut it. I have a little bit of extra so I can square up the board after I process it down. The rough cutting allows us to have a manageable size to run through the joiner, the table saw, things like that, and then we can square it up later. So face frame 1, we have a style, we have top rail, bottom rail, and we're going to have face frame 1 center rail. And actually, we don't have a center rail on this one. We're going to have a center style. I'm going to delete that. No, actually, we do have center rails. I am sorry. Our center rails are right here. Their length is 12 inches, and they're 1.5 inches. And I have 2 of those. So 2 center rails, and they were 12 inches by 1.5. My center style, I have 1 of those. It goes right up and down the middle of the cabinet. The length of that is 55 and 5/8. So I put 55.625, and it's 1.5 inches wide. So now we're on to face frame 2, and we have styles, again, 1 on each side. So that's quantity of 2. The length is 24 inches on these. So 2 at 24, and they're 1.5. My face frame 2 rails. Okay, this is going to be my top rail because I don't really have any, I just only have a top and a bottom. So I can switch this to say face frame 2 top rail. And that's going to be 37 inches long. It's going to be 1.5. Nope. I did that wrong. We're going to have quantity 1. It's going to be 37 inches long and 1.5 inches wide. Now face frame 2, I'm going to call this bottom rail. And I only have one bottom rail, so I don't need to label it. It's going to be 1. And if I look down here, it's 4.5 inches wide. Remember, the bottom rail goes all the way behind the trim. That's what the trim attaches to. So length is going to be 37 again. And the width is 4.5. Okay, face frame 2 center rail or style. I don't have that on this cabinet. I'm going to delete that. Now my front foot. I only have 1 foot or base trim on the front. And my length of that is 41 3/4. So 41.75. And my width is right here at 3 inches. And my side foot, this is one where I'm going to need that side view. So let's move over. And so my foot from the side view is 20 7/8 by 3. And I'm going to have 2 of those, one for each side. And it was length of 20.875 and a quantity of 3. Back foot, this cabinet I am planning to be against the wall. I'm not going to have a back foot. You would maybe have a back foot if your cabinet was going to sit out in the middle of a room. Where ours is not. I'm not planning for that. That's not how it's designed. So this one is not going to be sitting out in the middle of the room. Now, if I look, my crown molding is coming next. And so I'm going to, while I'm here at my side view, I'm going to write that down. My crown molding on the side, I'm going to have 2 of them again, 1 on each side. The length is 19 inches. And the width was going to be 3 as well, I believe, just like our bottom trim. Oops, wrong location. Yep, 3 inches again. So I can put 3 in there. And if my back or my sides are 3, my front needs to be 3. I only have 1 front view again, and I'm not planning on any trim on the back. And then the length of the front. So I'm going to go back to the front view. And the length of the front is 46 on the base or on the crown molding. So I'm going to put that in. All right, so I have my door here and I have my cut list, and I'm going to look at my door 1. I'm going to use my top door as my door 1, and I'm going to actually just make this to cover one door to cover the whole opening. It's not a very huge opening, so I think 1 door will be sufficient. So I'm going to put in the quantity of styles. If I look here, door 1 styles, I've got a style on this side and a style on this side. So I have 2, and their length is 55 and 0.625. And their width is going to be 2 9/16. Now that's the minimum width for the rails to style and rails to be. I don't remember what 2 9/16 is as a decimal, so I'm going to put 9 divided by 16. That's 0.5625. So it's going to be 2.5625. And these, I don't know why it didn't pop up, but these should all be quantity 1, 1, 1. So if it doesn't put it in there, your quantity should all be 1. Even though you might plane it down to 7/8 or 3/4, it needs to be 1 inch thick. That's how it comes in. That's how we calculate for it. Door rails. Now the rails go sideways. Now the rail is not the whole length like the style is. The rail fits in between. So right down here at the bottom, we see the length. So again, we're going to have a top rail and a bottom rail. So that's 2. And the length is 17.875. And it's going to be the same size of 2.5625. Now, door panel. Are we going to have a panel in here? You'd put the size if that's wood. This is going to be glass, so I'm not going to put it in there. This should say glass right here for us. We're going to take a look at our next door, which is door number 2. And we're going to actually have 2 of these. So our numbers, instead of being 2, are going to be 4. So my styles are 19. So I'm going to have 4 of these at 19 inches, and the width is the same as up above, 2.5625. And then I'm going to have rails. Again, I'm going to have 4 of those because I have 2 doors. and their length is 13 7/8. So 13.875 by 2.5625. Okay, door panel. This one's going to be a flat panel. I haven't determined what that's going to be. It could be 1/4 inch plywood or it could be solid lumber. I think for this project, we're going to use the 1/4 inch plywood, so we don't need to put that on there. We could indicate here that it's flat panel and plywood, just so anybody looking at the plans or even yourself aren't going to get confused to why we didn't calculate that. Now we're looking at the drawer fronts. So we can close out of our doors. We're done with them. And now we're going to look at our drawer front. So I have that document open now, and that's going to be, we have 2 drawers. So we're going to have quantity 2, and the length is 38 inches and the width is 9.5. Okay. And facing for adjustable shelves, we didn't have any adjustable shelves. Those were all fixed shelves with face frame. We don't need those. And our top, if solid. So let's open up our top view or our plans again. So as we look at our solid top, we're going to have a quantity of 1, and it's going to be 43 inches. We can barely see that in there. When we pulled it, when we were drawing, it was kind of hidden. And so I knew to look for it right there, but it's 43 inches long. And it's going to be, width-wise, is going to be on the side view. So we're going to have to move over to the side view. And on the side view here, it tells us it's 21.5. So 21.5. And again, these should be pulling in numbers. If they're not, go ahead and put your thickness in of 1 inch so it can calculate your total board feet used. So if there's things you didn't use, like this row here, we can go ahead and click on this row where it says 16 and right click or control click, and you can delete this row. We don't need that one. We don't need that row or that one. And this will just help make it so it prints on one page for you when you're done by getting rid of any of those extra. Okay. To add more if you need. If there's some part that we did not put on here that needs to be on here, for example, barrel rest. The barrel rest isn't on here, so we can put that on. And the barrel rest is only going to be about 3 inches deep. And we're going to move over. So it's 3 inches deep, and the back view is its length. So 24 5/8. So we're going to have 1 barrel rest at 24.625. And we're going to just say 3 inches deep. All right, so it's calculating our board feet for us. It makes the rough sizes. It's going to add about 30% on for waste. You know, when you get to the end of the board, you're going to have some materials you can't use. You might have a knot or a crack you have to cut around. So it's calculated all of that for you in this document. Once you've done the cut list and you've got that corrected by your instructor to make sure all those sizes are right, you're going to come over here to the cost form. Right down here in the bottom, there's another tab that says cost form. So 3/4 inch oak plywood. And if you remember from my plans, I had 3, it was actually 2 1/4 sheets. So I remember I told you got to buy a half a sheet at a time. So unless you can find somebody to split that with, we're going to put 2.5 in for our size, 2.5. And we have doors, and we're going to put 1 door on here. So I'm going to put quantity 1. And actually, that's kind of a tall door, 53 inches. I might put a 3rd hinge in. So I put a hinge on 1 on each side and 1 in the middle for some more stability and because of the weight of the glass. So I'm going to put 1.5 for quantity of hinges. And then my door slides or glides, I'm going to have 2 drawers in that bottom cabinet. So if we calculate this up, our estimate for this project should be about $350. So if this amount is too much for you, you don't want to spend that much on this project, whatever it may be, funding's a little tight, then you can go ahead and edit some of this. And if we look at your plans, maybe on your plans, you could shrink the project up. Maybe it doesn't need to be this wide. Maybe this cavity could be a little bit shorter so we can fit on 2 sheets of plywood instead of 2.5. Maybe we can make this project a little narrower to help fit on the plywood. The plywood's going to be the big thing for expense, as the plywood's about $70 a sheet. So the solid lumber is also going to be kind of up there in price. There's not a lot we could do to eliminate the solid lumber. We everything that we need is structural. The only piece that maybe you could get away with is taking off the crown molding, because it's high enough. Now, if it's a shorter project, a normal human being, 6 foot tall, shouldn't be able to stand here and see the top of the cabinet. So you would either need to put another solid top on, like this one right here, or have some kind of crown molding, or make your project taller so people can't see on the top. This piece of solid lumber here, you could maybe make this one cabinet instead of doing 2 separate pieces. This one cabinet would eliminate a lot of this solid lumber. You would only have to have some solid lumber on this little extra piece here to make up the difference. So there's a variety of things you could do to help lower the cost, but it's going to involve you changing your plans and redrawing. But we got to make sure that this cost is okay for your parents or whoever you're building the project for, so that they can cover that expense for you. When it comes to printing your plans, one thing that you could do to make sure that you get everything on one page is if you come up to the upper left-hand corner and highlight all of these cells and then go file print, or just print right here, we should hopefully get everything on one page. And right now I might have to change my parameters here to fit to page. There we go. I want that to be all on one page. And then you can print, or you could save as a PDF. So if we hit next, it should bring up my list of printers, or I can simply save it as a PDF, however you want to do that, and then print it later. You'll have to do that task for each of your tabs. So for the cut list, you'll have to do that. And then also for the cost form, you'll have to make those onto 2 different print jobs when you're printing them out. All right. If you have any questions with the cost form and or cut list, please talk to your instructor so they can get those questions answered for you.